Hi everyone, here's the Bookchemist once again. Today I'm continuing my exploration of George Saunders' fictional production, and I have reached the first Saunders book I've ever read, and still my favorite, although I have to read 10th of December, I still have to read that one. I'm talking about In Persuasion Nation. I'm also going to talk a little bit about The Brief and Frightening Reign of Phil, because it is included in the edition of In Persuasion Nation you find most widely across Europe. I believe it might be sold as a separate book in America, let me know about that. Anyway, the collection. One thing I have to say about George Saunders, and man do I complain a lot in my reviews of Saunders, I know I do. The one thing I have to say is that it is kind of a roller coaster. Some of these stories are much better than others, some are not as impressive, but that's for the only reason, and I really believe that the very impressive ones are fucking masterpieces, which kinda makes the other ones appear normal, even though they are extremely good. All of these stories are great in their way, and most importantly, this is a very diverse collection, which is very different. It's not something you find in George Saunders' first two collections, Civil Warland and Pastoralia, and which is the thing that makes me love this book so much. Some of these stories are straight up science fiction pieces in the same vein as Robert Shackley's most satirical stories or the great tradition of Philip Dick, and they use a borderline unthinkable science fictional devices and control centers to discuss very concrete human issues and to put these stories' characters into new perspectives and to discuss issues that are both proper to our times and that are universal and deeply humane. Of course, the key concern of Saunders in this collection too is the hidden absurdities and the hidden horrors of today's society, and especially of the entertainment industry and the advertisement industry, which look so innocent and so nice up until the point where they don't. Which is why Saunders' stories might appear a little bit pedantic at times, because we all love entertainment, and at the end of the day I think we all like advertisement too. And when I say entertainment, I don't mean good entertainment, of course we love that, that's great and majestic and beautiful. I'm talking about shitty entertainment. We all indulge in it every once in a while, and but Saunders is almost never reaches that point in which it makes you feel like, oh come on man, stop being such a stuck-up asshole. He never does that, unlike other writers whom I'm not going to mention. I was saying though, some of these stories are science fiction pieces, some of these stories are quirky pieces about the world of television that kind of blur the line between different diegetic levels between fiction, television, like the real life of the characters in the story who are also actors. They come straight out of the of high postmodernism really, but they tend to be a bit more enjoyable and less self-absorbed and centrifugal than most Pomo stories. Some of these stories are even quirkier, and there's a story in here which is nothing but the notes taken during an experiment on a monkey in a laboratory. Not the best story in the collection, I have to say, but very strong, a very disturbing piece. And of course it only goes to show how diverse, again, this collection is, because of course you also have a few straight up simple narrative pieces, normal standard stories as you would find on the pages of the fucking New Yorker, if that's not a special sci-fi edition. Like, let's pretend we all read sci-fi the rest of the year. Literary short stories, straight up heartwarming tales about common people in extraordinary circumstances. And who cares if occasionally in these straight up narratives you have plague of wild dogs coming up in the narrative. That's fine, I like wild dogs in my fiction. If a short story, a straight up short story, is about a character looking outside its window and remembering their fucking divorce, that's not a literary short story, that's a shit short story. In my review of Civil Warland in Bad Decline, I mentioned how I feel that collection is a bit too emotional and almost whiny at times, and some people asked what's wrong with emotions in fiction, and there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but that's like that kind of emotional impact that Civil Warland strives for is very difficult to achieve and to sustain for a whole collection. And Persuasion Nation, with its diversity, is able to be emotional time and again in different ways, and to never get the reader tired. There are some very emotional passages in here, but they are exception, and they shine they shine more for that reason. There's a short story in here called My Flamboyant Grandson, which is one of my favorites in the collection, and there's a very emotional reflection on America in that short story, which says that this character says that to him America is not about one single sensed voice or narrative, it's about countless voices, all of them wacky and like idiotic, shouting at the same time. And the whole point of the country is that you should be able to express your idiotic view on the world, listen to your friends' idiotic view on the world, and then have a beer together. And that's beautiful to me. And it's also, if you think about it, it's also cheesy and easy. But that's fine, because the rest of the story and the rest of the collection aren't so extensively striving to, you know, get you emotional or to like stab your heart with a blunt blade. Another great effect of this equilibrium is that, for instance, George Saunders' amazing black humor, which he is so good at, never gets tiresome and never gets to the point where it stops being fun and it starts being simply depressing, and there are some side-splitting LOL moments in this collection. The shitty characters that people this collection are never reach the point, as they did in Pastoralia, where they become annoying because they are interspersed with more bearable characters. In Persuasion Nation is a beautifully orchestrated performance, one of the best short story collections I've read in recent years. I would suggest it to anybody. If your collection includes The Brief and Frightening Reign of Phil, that's a great novella too, a satirical, absurd, borderline unthinkable piece in the same vein as Abbott's Flatland or Calvino's Cosmicomics. It poses the same kind of unanswerable question Saunders asks so many times in his fiction, and don't expect to have read it and like be, oh, now I get how the world works. It's probably only going to make you more convinced that the world is fucked, but it's a great collection. It's a great story, it's a great novella, also hilariously fun, and in general, in Persuasion Nation, highly recommended. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about this collection. Do you like it more than the first two collections by Saunders, as I do? Do you prefer those ones? Let me know in the comments. I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.